extra-inning loss last night, falling 3-2 to the South Carolina Gamecocks up in South Carolina. The game remained tied through 9 innings, but in the bottom of the 10th, South Carolina's KJ Scobie delivered a walk-off ground rule double, scoring Jordan Carrion to secure the win for the Gamecocks. It's 83 degrees at 12 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our 3 sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Welcome into the second part of the 2025 Media Mock Draft. 5 years ago today, the Cincinnati Bengals drafted Joe Burrow, and now, ladies, they are on the clock.
As I mentioned to the boys during the handoff from Jaguars today to us here on Helmets and Heels, this guy has been chomping at the bit. I believe it's his 4th 1010XL Media Mock Draft. 40 minutes ago, Marshall Kramsky is looking for who's still on the board. Well, now you know, Marshall, who is still on the board. And so here we are with the 17th pick in the 2025 1010XL Media Mock Draft. The Cincinnati Bengals select
Donovan Ezrau, defensive end, Boston College.
Ooh, okay. A little off the board there. Good morning, my friend. How we doing?
Good morning. I'm locked in now that I know who was picked. Yeah, listen, Ezrau, the Bengals, they love a captain, and Ezrau's a multi-year captain. They need to figure out the edge rusher issue with Sam Hubbard retiring, the Trey Hendrickson drama. Where is he going to be playing in 1 year? The Bengals hope in Cincinnati, but we'll see. And everything else they've experimented in at the defensive end position hasn't worked. I could see them going secondary, but Ezrau, I think he just makes sense. He was ACC Defensive Player of the Year. He's also from New Jersey, which is where defensive coordinator Al Golden is from. So maybe there's a little connection there. We'll see.
Marshall, when we talk about that defense, I was very big on Joe Burrow for MVP this year because of what he was able to do with the defense allowing 1 million points every game and the offensive line doing what they did. But what are your thoughts in general on that defense? How much help do they actually need, or do you think a piece or two kind of fixes the majority of it?
They need guys that play to their potential. They need players to stay healthy. I think it's more than a piece or two. I think that's why we have a new defensive coordinator in Cincinnati with Al Golden, leaving Lou Anarumo, who was like this guru just 2 years ago. He was the talk of the Bengals playoff run, that who is this Lou Anarumo guy from Staten Island who came into Cincinnati and just completely made one of the best defenses in the playoffs. The issue with this Bengals team is they don't tackle. Their fundamentals are pretty atrocious. So having a new philosophy in there, maybe someone who's going to enforce the Bengals to get the ball carrier down rather than try to punch it out. That's been the Bengals' issue the last 2 years. They're always trying to create turnovers, force a fumble, rather than just get the guy down without allowing extra yards. So I think a complete philosophy change is what the Bengals need, and hopefully that's what they're doing with hiring Al Golden.
And so obviously the question is, are they going to draft Donovan Ezrau because they're not going to have Trey Hendrickson?
Trey Hendrickson will be in Cincinnati this year. I'm pretty confident in that. I don't think they're going to trade him. The Bengals are not ones to let somebody out of a contract. I think they're going to continue to try and get something done, but there is a chance, because he does have 1 year left on his deal, that this is the last year, and I don't see Trey sitting out and not taking the money.
They paid Jamar Chase. They paid T. Higgins. Will Trey Hendrickson be next? But Donovan Ezrau heads to the Queen City in Ohio, according to one Marshall Kramsky of WCPO. Appreciate you, brother man, joining us each and every year.
Of course. Can't wait for next year.
All right.
And with that, we are off to Seattle.
No, first we have to hear the scouting report.
That's
for
right.
Boston
My
College
bad. Sorry.
Edge.
First one of the show. Give me some grace here, people.
Of course, Donovan Ezrau.
Lauren's losing her mind.
Donovan Ezrau out of Boston College is a compact edge rusher with outstanding length, burst, and production. In the pass game, he has a very quick first step and gets on top of blockers in a hurry. He excels at prying open the outside shoulder and cornering towards the quarterback. Against the run, he needs to be more consistent using his length to stack blocks. However, he shows solid effort on the backside to chase plays. Overall, Ezrau has an ideal body type to rush the passer, and he has all the tricks in his bag to win against good players.
I'm
Great
breaking
job.
rules already.
Great. All of these draft profiles for sure. I know it took a lot of work. Now we will journey 3,000 miles away to Seattle as the Seahawks are on the clock.
All right, we are looking at pick 18 now with the Seattle Seahawks. We are joined by Greg Bell. He covers the Seahawks for the news. So let's get to know some of those Seahawks needs. A lot of the things I see: interior offensive line, a big one, maybe tight end, wide receiver, corner. Which to you, heading into this draft, was the biggest need for the Seattle Seahawks, or is?
Well, guard and center for sure. And it's been an offensive line problem for going on 10 years. They've had 10 different starting centers since they traded Max Unger to the Saints for Jimmy Graham in 2015. But John Schneider doesn't draft for need in round one. He goes for the best player on the board, whoever they think is the best overall player, the best NFL caliber player, regardless of position. That drives fans nuts. We all make these mock drafts and predictions based on need. Seattle in round one does not do need, or at least they don't want to do need. They want to do the best player and then fit him into whatever they already have, even if it's at a surplus position. That's why they often zig when people think they're going to zag and vice versa. That they just don't seem to fit the need mold. They haven't in 15 years under Schneider in round one.
So when we're talking about that need, and that's where it comes, when the value of the need or the positional, the highest player, the best player available, those are a lot of the question marks when it comes to this. So with that being said, with the 18th pick, who do the Seattle Seahawks select?
Well, with how your board has fallen, I was surprised to see Kelvin Banks Jr. go as high as he did to the Raiders, and that's someone the Seahawks have an eye on. He would be a combination of need and best player if the Texas left tackle was available at 18. Because he's gone and because he's still available and Mike McDonald is familiar with him, having recruited him at Michigan in 2021, Will Johnson, the cornerback, 6'2", almost 200 pounds. The Seahawks would love to have a 6'2", 200-pound Johnson, a two-time All-American, in their secondary. It would free Devin Witherspoon to do multiple things beside play corner. He can play inside, he can rush the quarterback. He can do a lot more if you had Will Johnson there with Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon. If Johnson is still available, I don't think he's getting by Arizona, the division rival, a couple spots ahead of Seattle. But the way your board falls and Will Johnson not picked yet, my pick would be Will Johnson to the Seahawks, quarterback from Michigan at 18.
No medical concerns there, Greg? No concerns?
Well, there is.
Okay.
That's why he's available.
Yeah.
But for Michigan in 2022, that was, 2021, that was the year before Johnson got to Michigan. But nobody in the NFL, no head coach in the NFL besides Jim Harbaugh knows the Michigan program as well and has still connections in the Michigan program. You can bet he has every bit of medical information and every medical question on Will Johnson answered because of his Michigan connections.
All right, Greg, well, we appreciate you. Let's go ahead and hear that scouting report for Will Johnson.
Will Johnson is a big cornerback with easy, fluid movement skills and excellent instincts. He played outside and in the slot while at Michigan. In off coverage, he's very smooth and relaxed. He doesn't panic, settles on routes, and can find and play the ball. Two issues that showed in his 2024 game tape were consistency as a support player against the run, and there are questions about his deep speed. Overall, Johnson may not be the perfect player, but many love his blend of size and his ball skills.
Yeah, early on in the draft process, that was a guy that was certainly linked to the Jaguars, now potentially going 18th in this mock draft. Now to the team that might still be mad at us. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the clock.
Another friend of Helmets and Heels, I believe this is his third or fourth go-around on the 1010XL Media Mock Draft. It's Evan Klosky, the sports director at WTSP down in Tampa Town. Evan, I'm not going to lie, Donovan Ezrau going to another friend of the program in Cincinnati's Marshall Kramsky, 2 picks earlier. I'm wondering how that affects your approach to this year's Media Mock Draft.
This is my third year doing it, and it's a yearly tradition at this point that my selection gets taken. At least a pick before. I do appreciate that they did a 2 picks before, so it wasn't a complete sniffing of me. But yeah, I would have loved Ezrau. He's somebody I think fits perfectly for what the Buccaneers want, especially because they need a more long-term plan beyond Hassan Reddick, who they brought in for a 1-year deal this time around. So I think he would be a great fit to learn under Reddick and maybe take over in year 2. But we gotta adjust on the fly here. I'm pretty used to it at this point.
Will they go along the defensive line, maybe address the skill player position with the 19th pick in this year's media mock draft? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Evan Klosky select
linebacker out of Alabama, Jihad Campbell. He is somebody who I think when you go back to how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won that Super Bowl, how they built that team, obviously defensively, they got to be able to get after the quarterback. And typically people look at Todd Bowles' blitz numbers and say, oh, man, look at all the sacks that the defense gets. Like, they're still doing it, but it's how they do it. And the key for Todd Bowles is he wants to run four-man front, and he wants to only send four. But when he does want to blitz and what he wants to do in those blitz packages, he can't be having Levante David, in year 13 or whatever it is at this point, blitzing as much as he did last year. Levante stepped up because they had a need. They missed Devin White. So who's someone who can do some of the things that Devin White used to do at his peak? That's going to be Jihad Campbell. And with him, Servaste Dennis, Levante David, I think you have a pretty good linebacker group, and you also find a future successor for when Levante eventually hangs it up, which, should come any year now.
Evan, since you know Liam Cohen well, not necessarily James Gladstone, but certainly Liam Cohen, where do you think the Jaguars go with that 5th pick if they stay there?
If they stay at 5?
Yes.
I think that I see a lot of stuff with Ashton Genty right now, and with Liam Cohen being an offensive-minded guy, you have to imagine that he is definitely somebody who wants to get his pieces involved and make sure that the offense is running like he wants to run it. Having said that, it seems like from an outsider's perspective that they should be investing defensively. That's how I view the Buccaneers, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff going around that, hey, we can get a wide receiver if, we have to step into that position. There's still kind of a need there, but when you talk about how you're going to make your greatest growth entering next season, I do feel like the Jaguars would be smart to kind of fix some things on the defensive line there and bulk up. I'm a big, I've listened to enough Jason Light press conferences now to understand that the trenches is where you win. So offensive and defensive line, make sure that that's all set, and then you start expanding from there. So to me, I would like to see the Jaguars attack the defensive front. But having said that, I would not be opposed to Liam Cohen getting his guy if he's confident in that, considering the confidence I have in what he's going to be able to do there in Jacksonville and making sure they put up a boatload of points.
Great insight, as always, Evan Klosky, not only on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but the Jacksonville Jaguars as well. Before you go, because Lauren hasn't heard this yet, but Taylor did, just let the folks at home know, you returned to the continental United States Sunday. In the last 2 weeks, rattle off how many countries you've been at quickly.
Australia, but did Sydney, Uluru, Cairns, and then flew to Honolulu and hung out in Oahu for a few days. It was an amazing honeymoon, and then a swift return with both playoffs, NFL draft. So nothing is making me beat the jet lag like a really tough work schedule. But we're excited. It's getting me going.
Love it. Love it. Evan, we appreciate you joining us each and every year for the Media Mock Draft.
Yeah, thank you as always. Really appreciate you, Mia.
All right, let's get the scouting report on Alabama linebacker Jihad Campbell.
Jihad Campbell is a tall, rangy, and explosive linebacker. This past season for Alabama, he played both off the ball and on the edge. As an off-ball linebacker, he doesn't possess elite instincts, but offers excellent speed and physicality. He can range sideline to sideline and flashes the ability to thump off blockers and collect tackles on inside runs. He displays exciting tools in his pass rush opportunities off the edge. Overall, Campbell expands the playbook for defensive coordinators, and his best football is ahead of him.
Well, if you're keeping track, that is 4 edge players off the board in this year's media mock draft. The most recent selections, Boston College edge Donovan Ezrau goes to the Bengals. The Seahawks selected Michigan corner Will Johnson. And then, as you just heard, the Bucs with Alabama linebacker Jihad Campbell. On the other side, we've got the Broncos and the Steelers. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on the 2025 media mock draft on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
When you listen to radio play-by-play, you don't just hear the game, you feel it.
They feel good. That feel good.
Get the most play-by-play on 1010XL, Jacksonville's play-by-play sports radio.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm dedicated to helping businesses manage risk, maximize opportunities, and move their company forward. Jimerson Burr attorneys are business-oriented lawyers, equally comfortable as community leaders, private transaction counselors, or courtroom advocates. If you have a legal issue of any kind affecting your business, contact the firm at 389-0050 or jimersonfirm.com.
Mia here. I'm just going to cut to the chase. What you really want to know is, why buy from Arlington Toyota? Well, you're in luck, because I have over 800 reasons why. Like the fact that Arlington has over 800 vehicles to choose from, all on one lot, all at Arlington. And here's 60 more reasons, as in 60 days to love your purchase or exchange it for one that you do. Seriously, I know it sounds too good to be true, but it's not. Picture it. You buy it, drive it everywhere for 60 days, decide you love it, or decide you don't and exchange it. Now that is some test drive. And here's even more reasons why, like zero down and just $288 per month for a pre-owned 2022 Toyota Corolla. Or you can even choose no payments until August 2025. You heard that right. No payments until August 2025 at Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned. Now you know why you need to buy from Arlington. Shop in person on Atlantic Boulevard, just a quarter mile east of 295, or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes here with a challenge. A challenge might not be the best choice in words, so let's say an opportunity. Take the opportunity to lose 40 by the 4th with Awaken 180. It sounds a little different when you put a real goal to it, doesn't it? Maybe you looked at the scale this morning and it read 230 pounds. How about a reading 190 by the 4th? Maybe the scale says 300. Wouldn't the number 260 be a little nicer on your eyes and on your joints? It's attainable if you have the same results we all had with Awaken 180. I dropped 40 pounds in 9 weeks. Hacker dropped his first 40 in just 6 weeks. Dempsey, Blue, and everyone else I know, same results. And we've kept it off. The best thing about Awaken 180 weight loss, it will completely change the way you think, see, and feel about food. The results are real, attainable, and the process simple with Awaken 180. Take the opportunity and drop 40 by the 4th. It all starts with just one call to Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Call 844-346-1800 or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
A lot goes into taking care of your property. You need equipment with more reliability and versatility built in, like Kubota BX and L Series compact tractors to get the job done right, Z Series mowers that deliver a quality cut, and Sidekick utility vehicles where durability meets speed. Visit Coastal Equipment for a demo today.
Greater power for the great outdoors. Coastal Equipment.
Coastal Equipment on New Kings Road and in the clinic.
Helmets and Heels.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Everyone seems to be in a time crunch these days. Well, don't forget you can always count on the cold case at Daly's. Always convenient, always cold. Whether it's the king of beers, Natty Light, Stella, or Cigar City, or Goose Island or Bud Light Seltzer, dash into Daly's and grab one to go.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball is home at the newly renovated VyStar Ballpark tonight at 7:05. It's free t-shirts to the first 500 fans, courtesy of Renewal by Anderson and Better Health. Then it's Thirsty Thursday and Fireworks Friday and Saturday. Baseball all weekend. Tickets start at just $5. JackShrimp.com for tickets. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, affordable family fun.
She's very comfortable talking sports and hanging out with the boys.
Mia O'Brien here, still providing the best multimedia sports coverage in Northeast Florida on 1010XL radio, video, and social channels.
All things Mia are driven by Arlington Toyota.
The best golfing weather is upon us, and Hidden Hills Golf Club invites you to enjoy your next round of golf with us. Our welcoming atmosphere and love for golf keep our friends coming back. Check us out at hiddenhillsgc.com. You'll be glad you did.
Interested in a unique date night? Gibby here. I took my wife Nikki to Wick a Candle Bar. She made her own custom candle right there in the store. Shop local at Wick a Candle Bar. Locations in San Marco and Jacks Beach.
David here with Royal Pest Services. Man, don't let your yard be torn up by that heavy aeration machine this spring. Visit RoyalPestServices.com to learn more about our granular aeration. Broadcast throughout the tree and shrubs to break up that compacted soil. Visit RoyalPestServices.com.
Your home is more than walls and a roof. It's where you breathe, drink, and power.
power through life. At Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to keep it all running smoothly. From clean, cool air to clean water, reliable power to expert plumbing, we do it all. For over 35 years, families have trusted Donovan to make their homes healthier, safer, and more comfortable. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing today, 904-270-COOL, where health meets home.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you as the 2025 Media Mock Draft rolls on. In case you missed it earlier, Miami quarterback Cam Ward, no surprise, the number 1 overall pick. Colorado wide receiver and cornerback Travis Hunter went to the Browns at number 2. Penn State edge Abdul Carter, number 3. LSU offensive tackle Will Campbell was the pick by the Patriots at 4. And ESPN's Mike DeRocco selected Boise State running back Ashton Genty with the 5th pick. Any surprises through there?
For those ones so far, maybe not. There was some surprises in the first half for me, and because of that, I think that it had affected, and multiple guys so far in the start of ours had already said that, where it's like, oh, well, we were really hoping this guy would be here, or we didn't think this guy was going to be here. To me, there was more surprises in that first half so far, but the way the board has fallen, I think has benefited some of the teams that have picked at the top of the second half of it.
As I told the boys on Jaguars today, my new pick for your Jacksonville Jaguars at 5, first name trade, last name down. So since you can't do that in the media mock draft, yes, this would suggest where I think the media consensus currently stands with those first 5 picks.
Do you think Kelvin Banks Jr., Texas offensive tackle, going at 6 to the Raiders, that was selected by Vic Tafer, who we've had on our show multiple times. Do you think that was a little different than what most people expected? And again, the Raiders are pivoting because all along they've been linked to Genty.
Do we want to debunk it, Taylor?
Yeah.
It's time to debunk it.
That was my probably biggest shock in the top, because Kelvin Banks has been someone that has been mocked to the Bears at certain times at 10. And even at 10, we've been like, too high for 10. He's more of that 17, 18 range. And so that high, I was really shocked that he goes there. But yeah, there is a little bit of a mystery theory behind that one.
Our mystery theory. I don't want to cue up some X-Files music and give RJ even more work as he's getting our next guest ready to go. But in this year's media mock draft, however, a little YouTube or a little Google search this morning revealed Kelvin Banks is a client of Athletes First. You may be familiar with the name David Mulugeta, the president of Athletes First. Once upon a time, the representative of the star player here in the city of Jacksonville by the name of Jalen Ramsey. And also, of course, someone who has been known to do a pretty good job of pushing his guy. Thank you, RJ. Pushes his guys, gets them out there, ensures they get paid. And so Kelvin Banks suddenly coming into the nucleus and this common notion of, oh my goodness, he's going to be a top 10 pick here in the last week or so. Just file that one away, folks.
Yeah, adds up.
All right, our next guest can't join us. I guess he's got some cell phone service issues, but I have his pick. So let's head to the Mile High City as the Broncos are on the clock. So Andrew Mason normally would be joining us right now to make that 20th pick from denversports.com. But like I said, some issues with the cell phone. But he has his pick in, and that is running back Omari Hampton. He said that's an obvious choice, giving the running back hole. And I think anything you read, the Broncos are zeroing in on a running back. He said the Broncos will be absolutely ecstatic if he is picked, if he's available at number 20, they will be very excited to make that pick.
Yeah, that running back is what pretty much everybody has. And luckily for them, it's a very deep running back draft. So I think at that spot, they'll be able to get one of those, obviously not an Ashton Genty, but a next group of one of those, Omari Hampton, Travion Henderson, one of those guys.
Yeah, so that's the pick, obviously formerly of North Carolina. And I think that makes a lot of sense. The Broncos are a team I feel like in the next few years are going to be potentially contending with the Chiefs year in and year out, not just, the team that you kind of just pencil them already losing the division because the Chiefs are in it. Like, I do feel like they're starting to climb up there.
Yes, and I think that what'll be more interesting is, do the Denver Broncos get aggressive in order to secure a running back, even though once upon a time they drafted Audric Estime, and he looked okay as part of a stable of running backs last year on a playoff team, Taylor Dahl.
Yeah, obviously big Estime fan, and I even drafted him in my dynasty, but he was like on my, I forget what it's called, tax players pretty much, where you can't use them in that first year, but I can activate him this year. So I am expecting a little more, but then that now may affect it if Omari Hampton is on their roster.
All right, let's get the scouting report for running back Omari Hampton.
Omari Hampton out of North Carolina is a big athletic back. As a runner, he likes to press the hole early before deciding to stay inside or bounce out wide. He's a loose runner and has make-you-miss ability while in space. He has an impressive blend of power and balance on contact. In the pass game, he's effective on angle routes, screens, and shovels. In pass pro, he is quick to sort and attack blitzers with a sharp 6-inch punch. Overall, Hampton has the size and tools to be an effective starter right away.
So Omari Hampton goes to the Broncos with the 20th pick. Now on to the Aaron Rodgers list, at least for now. Pittsburgh Steelers, they're on the clock. Brooke Pryor of ESPN joins us now. Brooke, let's start with this whole Aaron Rodgers saga before you make the pick.
Oh, man, where to even begin with the Aaron Rodgers saga? Because it's been over a month since the free agency period opened, or the new league year opened, and Aaron Rodgers is still not a Pittsburgh Steeler. In conversations I've had with people within the Steelers organization, they are still comfortable with where things stand. They're still optimistic. They truly have not given him a deadline because they feel like he's a plug-and-play type guy because of his experience, his veteran status, all of those things. And they said Aaron Rodgers and his lack of a decision are not factoring into their draft strategy. On the flip side, though, I asked, well, does the outcome of the draft this weekend, could that impact your pursuit of Aaron Rodgers or any other outside quarterback? And Mike Tomlin said, yeah, oftentimes the draft acquisitions will affect our free agent acquisitions after the fact, so we have to kind of wait and see what happens this weekend. I thought that was a very interesting, not unexpected, but an interesting response.
Yeah, Brooke, when you look at the playmakers there, adding DK Metcalf in this offseason alongside George Pickens, you definitely have the guys that can stretch the field and do a lot for a quarterback, but you definitely need somebody to throw them the ball as the start.
Yes, 100%. And they do have Mason Rudolph on the roster. My understanding is that the Steelers are a lot more comfortable waiting for Aaron Rodgers or even not reaching on a quarterback in this draft because they have Mason Rudolph. Obviously, the outside perception of Mason Rudolph is that that's not who you want to go into the season with as a starter, but the people in the organization feel differently. They feel really confident in his ability and in the way that the guys in the locker room bought into him in 2023. They were with him through all of the different issues of Myles Garrett, helmet swinging stuff. Obviously, there's been a lot of locker room turnover since then, but he's a guy that's really endeared himself to the locker room and that they feel comfortable with.
All right, Brooke, so without further ado, given the scene we've just laid out with the 21st pick in the 1010XL Media Mock Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers and Brooke Pryor of ESPN select...
Oh, we're going to go with Shador Sanders, quarterback, Colorado. Looking at the picks that have been made so far in this mock draft, once I saw that he went past the Saints at 9, obviously no trades in this draft. I could see, in real life, the Browns trying to move up to get him late in the first round, maybe the Giants, who knows. But in this scenario, I think that if he falls to the Steelers at 21, they feel really good about him. And I think that it is a good fit for Sanders because we know, similar to Aaron Rodgers, there's a lot of off-the-field stuff that comes with being Shador Sanders and being the team that brings Shador Sanders in. The Steelers are uniquely equipped to deal with all of that outside noise because of Mike Tomlin. Because let's be honest, if the Steelers don't play well, if things don't go well for them this season, of course, there are going to be calls. Mike Tomlin should be fired, bring in Deion Sanders, all of these things. Art Rooney doesn't listen to that outside noise. Mike Tomlin is incredibly secure in his position. He's just now this year starting that 3-year extension. So they're in a position to kind of withstand that outside noise. Mike Tomlin likes a big personality in a player, especially in a quarterback. He likes players with NFL pedigree. So as much as they need a defensive lineman, defensive tackle, a running back, I think that they can still get really good value in those picks, in those positions later in the draft. But I would also keep an eye out on draft night. They could trade back, try to recoup one of those day 2 picks that they traded away when they acquired DK Metcalf. They gave up their second-round pick. So they're going into this draft with only 6 picks, which is unusual for an organization that typically likes to build through the draft.
Talk about some big personalities, Brooke, with Shador and then George Pickens as well. And then you throw in TJ Watt on the other side of the ball. All right, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm sure we will reach back out to you after the draft.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right, there she goes. Colorado quarterback Shador Sanders. Here's his scouting report.
Shador Sanders out of Colorado is a slightly undersized quarterback with outstanding touch, accuracy, and toughness. He operates out of the gun and is crisp in his footwork. When he has time and space in the pocket, he throws from a strong platform, showcasing a compact and smooth delivery. He relies more on timing and anticipation rather than pure velocity. He isn't a sudden or twitchy mover when pressured, and that's part of the reason why he took so many sacks over the past 2 seasons. Sanders doesn't have elite size, arm strength, or athleticism, but he can find success in an offense based on timing and ball placement.
All right, the Chargers await on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on the 2025 Media Mock Draft on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
He calls himself the truth teller. Find out why.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Go into the night, every night, with Rick Ballou.
Keep your friends close, but your enemies close.
On 1010XL.
The joys of home ownership. Until the plumbing backs up, the AC goes out, or your septic system decides to act up. The good news, you don't have to call 3 different companies when things go wrong. Just call my friends at Duck Duck Rooter. They're your one-stop shop for plumbing, septic, and air conditioning all under one roof. So whether it's a leak, a clog, your system just won't cool, they've got you covered. Don't take my word for it. Check out their 5-star reviews on Google. From the moment you call to the moment the tech solves your issue, you will get first-class service every step of the way. Give them a ring at 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com. Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. One call does it all.
Need fresh and flavorful lunch? Chicken Salad Chick has scratch-made Southern-style chicken salad in every bite. It's quick and delicious, so why wait? Come taste the best chicken salad today at Town Center, Durbin Park, or Butler Point at Chicken Salad Chick.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. Charles.
6.
Oh, so close. Betty for the steal.
What about the bank that helps you reach your financial goals? Synovus.
Let's see, judges. Yes, looks like we have a winner.
That's a number?
Sorry, Charlie. Remember, a solid financial future doesn't happen by chance. Talk with Synovus about your potential today. Brought to you by Synovus Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. The number was 4.
So, you finally have some time to yourself. Even if it is just the car ride home, it's you time. And look at you. Do not disturb set before you even got in the car? Impressive. You've earned this moment to just chill and drive. This break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
It's a Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
SportsForecaster.com has all the data you need to project tomorrow's winners. Register for free and track the performance of all your favorite players and teams, including all your fantasy team picks and prospects. Sports Forecaster has the most detailed player profiles on the web. Precise depth charts, every transaction, every injury, every news update. No ranting or raving, no preening or barstool bluster. At SportsForecaster.com, you get the timely info you need for every game. SportsForecaster.com. Sign up for free today.
My son had a meniscus surgery a couple years ago. When it's smooth as silk, Dr. Kevin Murphy did it. Was playing tennis in 2 weeks. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
David Garrard here. I've had the PRP treatment from Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, and my knees are really doing well. Platelet-rich plasma treatment may be the answer for whatever is hurting you.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Hello, I'm attorney Malcolm Anthony. Being charged with domestic violence can turn your life upside down. If you're in trouble, call me, Malcolm Anthony, at 285-4LAW. That's 285-4LAW.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On April 23rd, 2020, at the NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Louisiana State quarterback Heisman Trophy winner Joe Burrow with the first overall pick.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwood. Clayton, I've seen ads for diamonds where you see the words all diamonds certified by IGI, EGL, or GIA. Just what does all that mean?
Frank, it's confusing because those letters represent various diamond grading laboratories. However, it's important to point out that labs don't certify anything. They issue diamond grading reports. The only entity that can certify the diamond is the seller. There's one exception to that, and that's members of the American Gem Society have the ability to certify diamonds through their partnership with the American Gem Society Laboratory. That's because it's the only partnership in the world where an organization devoted to consumer protection through gemological education and ethics has a laboratory built on the exact same principles. We have these certificates at Underwood's, but more importantly, we have American Gem Society certified gemologists that look at all of these diamonds and put our grade and our certification of the diamond's quality on it. And believe me, that's important.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Money on this Thursday or Wednesday afternoon ahead of the Thursday night draft
day it
tomorrow.
is.
Yeah. It takes certain weeks. It does take me an extra second to remember. Taylor Dahl is here. RJ Saunders working hard in there. Mia O'Brien. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Back to the West Coast we go. The Los Angeles Chargers are on the clock. Mike Harmon joins us now from Fox Sports Radio out in Los Angeles. Mike, thanks so much for joining us your morning.
Glad to be with you, ladies. Another year. Here we are again. We spin the wheel. The only thing true that I know more than anything. Concerts, lawyers, and pictures of Jim Harbaugh. Those line my freeways.
Warms my heart so much.
Yeah, so the Chargers last year picked in the top half. This year, obviously, picking now 22nd overall. Where do you think they're leaning as far as needs go, Mike?
Well, that's the beauty of it is, with the success they had on defense and pulling back the reins with the Baltimore Ravens leftovers at running back last year, they still ranked pretty highly, right? And obviously had a great year. But the level of needs, I think you could list pretty much everything except for quarterback as something you'd like a little bit more of. So now it just comes down to personality and Harbaugh. And for me, it always comes down to grit over the sexiness.
Mike, we've talked a lot about how to kind of get Trevor Lawrence back to the Trevor we've seen in moments and what that will take. And we compared a lot to what Jim Harbaugh did with this roster, with Justin Herbert this last year. I do feel like maybe they simplified some things, didn't put so much on Herbert, and it felt like he really got back to, with barely turning the ball over at all, really got back to what a lot of people also expected from Justin Herbert without having to throw 40 touchdowns a year.
Yeah, I think the big thing is, and it's just roster building 101, right? Get the grunt work done of getting your offensive line together. Joe Alt obviously was a little bit controversial, has himself a great year. Rashawn Slater stays healthy, still had issues on the interior line, but overall played pretty well. So, Jacksonville seems that's the approach you would take, which is why, you get all the trade whispers, all of that out there instead of going for the flash of Gentry. I mean, last year, the resurgence of the running back was all fine and good. But remember, those guys were really good, and the teams they went to were really good and structurally sound. So you got to build the infrastructure and they have the bones before you can bring in, the extra eye appeal. So all of that to say, Justin Herbert, they bring back Mike Williams to stretch the field. So that's one piece, I guess, you've solved a bit. But what's his over-under on games played? Anybody want to take a guess?
Probably 7.5. Yeah. How does that line sound?
There you go.
There we go. There we go. I'm not a betting woman, but hey, 7.5. Hey, Mike, really appreciate the insight as far as the Jags go. But now as we pivot to the 22nd overall pick in this year's media mock draft, I'm curious, is Mike Harmon going to select someone along a line or a playmaker for Justin Herbert?
That's the thing, right? Following the draft, like a bunch of the names that you'd have, it's like, all right, he's gone. So I end up going defense. So it's either you go with what you know and Grant, or no, I decided to go Shamar Stewart. Joey Bosa has gone to Buffalo, so give me some more help on the edge. 6'6", 290, still raw, but a guy that can help as that division gets better. Because whatever you think of Geno Smith, he's light years ahead of what they've had for the Raiders forever. Bo Nix and Sean Payton ain't going away. And Patrick Mahomes, even in a down year, was still near, how many yards, how many touchdowns still? He wasn't great, but still got it done. So you need to beef up more on that edge.
Well, it's interesting because so far in this mock draft, that's the position group that's become the most popular. So certainly you continue that trend. Mike, thank you so much for joining us this year again.
Thanks so much, ladies. Have a great rest of the draft. Enjoy it tomorrow and hydrate.
Thank you. Amen. Amen to that. Get that liquid IV popping.
All right, let's hear more about Texas A&M edge Shamar Stewart.
Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M is a long, dynamic, and athletic edge rusher. He generates a lot of pressures, but struggles to finish in the passing game. That's why his low sack total is misleading. He still impacts the game, even without major sack production. He has a very explosive first step and uses his long arm move to run offensive tackles back to the passer. Against the run, he can easily set the edge, and he has the speed to chase and make plays on the backside.
All right, good stuff. Once again, RJ, now to the team where Anthony Campanelli came from and Taylor's least favorite team in all of the NFL. The Green Bay Packers are on the clock.
All right, we're joined now by my friend, my enemy, Peter Bukowski of Locked On. My frenemy of Locked On Packers. Peter, thanks for hopping on with us.
I'm excited to be here. Excited to make a pick.
Yeah, let's go. So let's start with heading into this draft. I know we had the conversation, you and I had the conversation at the start of last year about some of the needs for the Packers, and we were talking about that wide receiver group. You even at that time expressed a little bit of a concern of not having that true number one wide receiver, even though the year before it kind of worked month to month. What are your thoughts on that area? How quickly do you think they address that wide receiver?
Well, they haven't taken a wide receiver in the first round in almost 25 years. 2001 was the last time they took a receiver in the first round. Javon Walker was the guy. A year ago, I didn't think they needed to. I thought the egalitarian approach from Matt LaFleur, that offense, Jordan Love spreads the ball around, makes it really difficult to game plan for. That worked. And then we saw last year, there were times when, you wanted to see, okay, year two, Jaden Reed. Year two, Dontavian Wicks. Year three, Christian Watson. Year three, Romeo Doubs. Can those guys take steps forward? They didn't. None of them did. That was the crazy thing. Not one of those guys really took a big step forward. And I think now you look at them and you go, they need a difference maker at receiver. They need a quarterback-friendly 3rd and 6, have to have it. Can you just find a guy to get open? And I think they have to address it early. I think they're going to address it early. And I think they're going to break the streak. I think this is the year to do it in Green Bay. What a story that would be.
Ooh. Josh Jacobs doing what Aaron Rodgers could not.
All right, so
look, there's a pettiness level that in me that appreciates that.
Love it. All right, Peter. So with pick 23, the Green Bay Packers select
Amecha Ibuka, receiver, Ohio State.
Yeah, that's a name that the Jags fans have kind of talked about hoping to fall to the top of that second round. A lot of people say it's not going to happen. Definitely somebody that the other NFC North teams do not want to be facing.
By the way, Peter, we just had one of our listeners text in, the Packers are America's team. I'll let you do with that information what you will. They're going to draft Siobhan Ravel to replace Jair Alexander. What do you make of that?
Well, so Brian Gutekunst has not drafted a player in the first round that does not have an athletic testing profile since he's been the general manager. They have not drafted a first-round player who is injured, missed most or part of his final season in college since Justin Harrell, and that was Ted Thompson a long time ago. So that would be pretty surprising. If they're going to take a corner, I think it would be someone like If Will Johnson is there from Michigan, if they're comfortable with Maxwell Hariston's size, he was allegedly 195 his second last year in college. They haven't drafted a corner sub 190 in the top 100 since Terrell Buckley, since George Herbert Walker Bush was the president. So that would be pretty surprising too. So we'll see. And I think Siobhan Revel was 188 last year before he got hurt. So it would be a shocker.
Yeah, and that's led to a lot of wins for the Packers, so I don't know why you would stray from that. Peter Prokowski of Locked On Packers, thank you again.
Thanks.
And let's go ahead and hear that scouting report for Amecha Ibuka.
Amecha Ibuka is a strong physical receiver with the ability to play inside or outside. He's quick in his release and can fight his way through press coverage. He's more of a one-speed route runner, but he's very comfortable working in traffic. He has a great feel for working in red zones and adjusting his route if the play is prolonged. After the catch, he relies more on his toughness than pure speed to create extra yards. Many view Ibuka as an impact slot receiver in the mold of another former Buckeye, Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Not happy he's off the board there at pick 23, but I certainly understand it. We will stay in the NFC North and go to the team where Grant Udinsky came from. The Minnesota Vikings are on the clock.
All right, we're joined now by Tyler Forness, Vikings Sporting News and Score North. Tyler, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Taylor. I got to say, I'm very disappointed Peter took Ibuka. I was hoping he might be available at this spot.
You guys don't need all of the wide receivers in Minnesota.
I'll take all of them, though.
We did have a local guy on with us this week, formerly of Atlantic Coast and also of Illinois, Pat Bryant II, and he told us that he models his game after Justin Jefferson. So yeah. I don't want y'all to take him, but just file that one away.
That's a good piece of info.
Tyler, let's start with I think the bigger conversation right now is J.J. McCarthy. The health side of J.J. McCarthy, expectations. Do you expect him to start right away this season?
Yeah, I don't see a reason why he won't. Kevin O'Connell said that he was full bore going into OTAs that started this week, and they're just incredibly high on him. Some of the things that he was able to do at Michigan and the limited amount of throws that he made, like it was a Jim Harbaugh offense. Justin Herbert doesn't throw a ton in Los Angeles. That's just how he wants to play football. But when he was given those high leverage situations, third and long, he dominated. He was great in those spots. So they really believe that they can nurture him. He had a full year in an NFL system. So with what they have on offense, they think they can just put him in there and be successful from the jump. And I think they will be.
The Vikings did lose several pieces, though, on the defensive side of the ball to free agency. And so I'm very curious, Tyler, where you will go with the 24th pick in this year's media mock draft for those Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and there's a lot of different directions they can go, but Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is very steadfast on he wants an impactful player and a player that you cannot get in free agency. So to me, that's a star defensive lineman. Some people are looking at safety. I can get a safety. Vikings have had a lot of success drafting him on day 3. I think that they're going to go D-line, and the fact that he's still here makes it easy. I think it's Kenneth Grant. If he makes it, he may be 340 pounds. He may be a nose tackle, but he's got pass rush juice, and that's a rare type of specimen to put on a defensive line, and it'll allow them to be really flexible with how they want to use that front.
Yeah, Tyler, I don't love that you guys ended up getting Jonathan Allen this offseason. That was one of my favorite free agents from this free agent class. So you are saying with pick 24, the Minnesota Vikings are taking? Oh, that's Kenneth Grant. Yeah, that's your choice. Okay. Kenneth Grant. I'm a big fan of Grant. I think that we had this conversation last year, Tyler, when after the draft where we each kind of went through some of the players we were looking forward to watching the most, and Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant were both on my list for that, and I think they're guys that are going to make immediate impact on the defense.
I agree completely. Walter Nolan would have been my guy, but I thought he ended up going way early, which who knows how this draft is going to go. There's so many questions. Guys that you're going at 10 could go at 30. It's going to be so much fun this weekend, but the Vikings can get that defensive lineman, I'd feel really, really good about our prospects going into the year.
And just to circle back to the quarterback situation with Tyler Forness of Score North, Kirk Cousins, the reunion, I know that's been rumored as one of the 3 potential landing spots if the Falcons quarterback was to be traded this weekend, but perhaps the least most likely landing spot for Kirko.
Yeah, I think it's a bad idea to bring in the guy who was the most controversial player in recent Vikings memory to be the backup. Second, McCarthy throws 2 picks in a game. There's going to be a huge segment of the fan base calling for Kirk to start. That's not a situation you want to put yourself in. He'd be a perfect backup quarterback, but the price point and that extra addition of drama is just something that I think they'll completely stay away from.
Well, Tyler, we appreciate your time and enjoy tomorrow because we are all expecting some pretty wild things to go on.
Hey, much appreciated, ladies. Thank you very much.
All right, let's get to that scouting report for defensive tackle Kenneth Grant.
Kenneth Grant out of Michigan is a massive defensive tackle with intriguing quickness and power, although very much a work in progress as a pass rusher. He flashes quick hands to club and swim for wins. However, he hasn't learned how to harness his strength to bull rush and consistently collapse the pocket. Grant is a very dominant run defender. He easily holds the point of attack despite playing with a high pad level, and he also has great awareness and effort to chase down screens. Although there's some assembly required with Grant, his physical tools are very loud and definitely worth the investment.
Some assembly required. Good
like
stuff,
that.
RJ. All right, so that means in this block, the Chargers selected Texas A&M edge Shamar Stewart. The Packers took Ohio State wide receiver Amecha Ibuka. And then another guy that a lot of Jags fans want to hear, Michigan defensive tackle Kenneth Grant, goes with the 24th pick to the Vikings. On the other side, we will have the Texans, the Rams, and the Ravens. You are listening to Helmets and Heels. And the 2025 Media Mock Draft rolls on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Professional radio broadcasters.
Sorry. Dinner doesn't gifts. A diner doesn't.
That is awful.
So Cole.
I was flowing real good, then wasn't it?
You've got to be kidding me.
Professional, for crying out loud.
Who wrote this?
1010XL.
Tailgaters parking season passes are on sale now. Secure your Jaguar season parking today. Enjoy indoor restrooms, a full-service bar and grill, access 4 hours before kickoff. Visit tailgatorsparking.com and book your space today.
Lauren Brooks here. It's the Cruise in the Summer event at Hodges Mazda at the Avenues. For a limited time, get up to $5,000 off a new 2024 Mazda CX-50 Preferred and receive a free 5-day cruise for 2 with your purchase. With off-road capability and this special offer, your summer adventure starts now. Hurry, 2024 Mazda CX-50 Preferred models are in limited supply at Hodges Mazda. Offer valid on new 2024 Mazda CX-50 Preferred only. MSRP $32,564. Must trade in a vehicle and finance through dealer to qualify for discount. Cruise and vehicle availability limited. Travel taxes and fees additional. See dealer for details.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? You have questions? Call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700. Office is Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. By now, everyone has heard about saving money on their energy bills. There are all sorts of things you can do to cut energy costs, but most people don't think about their windows.
But Window World knows that the biggest energy loss in almost every home is the windows. There is more energy loss from old builder-grade windows than just about anything else in your home.
You can upgrade your heating and air, your appliances. That's good too. But before you do all that, upgrade your windows to Window World's energy-efficient windows.
Window World's windows are easy to clean, energy efficient, and have the best guarantee in the business.
Window World's slogan is simply the best for less, and we mean it. You get great American-made windows, and you get to keep more of your money when you buy from Window World. Need any more reasons to buy your windows from Window World? Call them today and set up your free in-home estimate, or go online to windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World,
simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
It's here. Beard's Diamond's first ever massive sale on all diamond stud earrings and all tennis bracelets. Now through Sunday at 4 p.m. Save 20%, 30%, even 40%. Beautiful diamond stud earrings and gorgeous diamond tennis bracelets. Perfect for any occasion. Take advantage of huge markdowns. Best prices ever. Corporate-owned big box stores could never offer this extreme value, but locally owned Beards can. And it's happening now through Sunday. Up to 40% off. Beard's Diamond, St. John's Town Center. Shop local. Shop Beards.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Helmets and Heels.
All right, fellas, I got to brag a little. I'm down 40 pounds thanks to Awaken 180 weight loss and keeping it off.
That's cute, Matt.
I'm down 110 pounds. That's like losing a Backstreet Boy.
Okay, so I'm the rookie here. I just started, but I'm already down 13 pounds, and let me tell you, it feels good to see the results already.
That's the thing, man. Awaken 180 works. No shots, no meds, no gimmicks, just real food, real support, and real results.
The support team is a game changer because we all know it's so easy to get distracted. But with Awaken 180, you get your own coach and a plan that works with your lifestyle.
And free support for life.
Plus, no gym workouts required, which is great because let's be honest, I wasn't running wind sprints either.
25, 40, even 110 pounds. If we all can do it, so can you. Call 844-346-1800 or visit awaken180weightloss.com.
That's 844-346-1800 or awaken180weightloss.com.
Good morning, Doctor.
Doctor?
Hi, Doctor.
Doctor?
Dr. Jackson's practice is growing.
What do you mean we're still short-staffed?
He needs a good patient doctor.
How do we not have enough doctors to doctor all these patients?
And he doesn't have the patience to sift through hundreds of resumes.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
At IHRS, we're passionate about solving your hair loss. We're clients too. With the latest hair transplant technology, FDA-approved laser hair therapy, and PRP, we guarantee solutions for both men and women. Call now for a free consultation and receive $250 off. Hair restoration is for me, and it can be for you too. Go to hairforme.com or call 904-777-IHRS. That's 904-777-4477.
North Florida is growing with lots of new families joining our community. If you're one of them making the move here, your next move should be a call to American Electrical to create the best home automation system, enhancing your living experience. There are many ways your life can be made easier through smart home technology, voice-activated systems, automated lighting, total house temperature control. With American Electrical, they've got everything you need to automate your home and make it your true oasis. Check out American-Electrical.com, powered by professionalism and raising the excellence bar.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
I'm Max Fink with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update, brought to you by First Coast YMCA. Yesterday evening, the Florida State Seminoles baseball team hosted the Stetson Hatters in the school's first sporting event back on campus since this tragic shooting last Thursday. Instead of the Seminoles' normal pregame warm-up, they hosted a 30-minute tribute ceremony honoring those affected and allowing the student body to come together as one. The Noles came out on top 11-6 thanks to Gage Harrelson, Hunter Carnes, and Max Williams each going yard, and a strong defensive performance. The Florida Gators comfortably handled their midweek matchup against Georgia Southern last night with a 12-1 run rule victory, their third run rule win in the last 5 games. Luke Heyman's grand slam in the bottom of the 7th walked it off for the Gators, keeping them undefeated in midweek home games this season. As their offense continues to look sharp, the Gators have now won 8 of their last 9. It's 83 degrees at 12:58. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This team won the division last year. Unfortunately for the Jags, the Houston Texans are on the clock.
We're joined now by our friend Cole Thompson. You hear him a lot. We've had him on talking
Well, Cole,
We're waiting.
Surprisingly enough, Cole was not actually on the line just yet, which, Taylor,
Right. We will get Cole. I have to tell him, you only have 3 minutes, Cole.
I was going to say, we always take our listeners behind the curtain, and so do know that friend of the program, welcome in, by the way, to hour number 2, the final hour of the 2025 1010XL Media Mock Draft. We did tell Cole Thompson of the Houston Texans beat reporting Acclaim, and of course SEC Unfiltered, that we are limiting him to 3 minutes because you know our friend Cole, a good friend of the program, if we ever get T-shirts made, he's probably the first one who's going to get one.
Buy it for sure.
He would buy one. Yes, we wouldn't even have to send him one for free. But yes, we will limit him to 3 minutes as we still have the last few picks to be made in this year's 2025 Media Mock Draft.
Yeah, so again, we now are going to be joined by Cole Thompson. He's of the Texans Wire and also a newer gig with producer for Sports Talk 790. So congrats on that, and thanks for joining us, Cole.
Yeah, I know. I was pushing the clock. I'll try and make this very quick and to the point because if we all know the Texans, once again, whoever they pick are just in such a weak division, they'll be coming out on top as 10-7 and victors of the AFC South.
See, and that's what's funny when we were starting this, and she said and Lauren said that they won the AFC South. I was like, nobody made it too difficult to be able to win the AFC South.
Well, that's why, the big conversation, Cole, has been, the Jags are not going to be at their peak form of what they want to be under Liam Cohen and James Gladstone year one.
But how good do you have to be?
To win the AFC South. You just have to be competitive.
It's not about being good. It's about being relevant. That's all it is in the month of December. Do that, you're fine.
All right, Cole, let me ask you this real quick because Tank Dell, probably no Tank Dell this season, that unfortunate injury for him. You guys did add Christian Kirk. You've kind of become the Jaguars of the West. A lot of Jags players have migrated that way. But how high is that wide receiver position on your list of needs for the Texans?
It's number 2. I think it's behind offensive line. And then if you want to go a step further with actually breaking down guard and tackle, it would be number 3. You got to have a consistent playmaker on the outside to pair alongside with Nico Collins. We know this. As good as a route runner as he is, Christian Kirk is a slot guy. He is going to be in the slot 98% of the reps. He's not going to add much value when you play him at the Z position. So there's a certain type of player that you have to target, which does make my selection a little bit easier when it comes to this part. But also on draft day, it may be a bit challenging. If you see a run on wide receivers or a run on offensive tackles, you may simply have to move up with the intent of drafting one, just so that way you're walking away with the player that you can trust will start immediately when he touches on down. But if you want TJ Stroud to be better, he has to be well protected. However, you also got to be able to have, I think, a consistent playmaker on the outside to take pressure off of Nico Collins.
I am fascinated to see who you take with this 25th overall pick, Cole Thompson, because here's the thing. I think there's 2 players, at least from what I can see on the board. One of them, there's an obvious tie to D'Amico Ryans. The other, though, I was just getting some text from league sources. I know the league is much higher on the other player than perhaps the media is. So with the 25th pick, Cole Thompson, on behalf of the Houston Texans and the Texans Wire in this year's mock draft, selects.
I want to go with this pick. I do. Because it's a part of me that just says I have to. But he's available. And as much as I don't think you need a wide receiver here, you need to upgrade the offensive line, Matthew Golden's available.
Oh.
And that's a wide receiver that is absolutely fitting that Z formation, that can be an exceptional route runner, that will take pressure off of C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins. He's an excellent complementary fit in this style of system underneath Nick Caley. He's a willing blocker. And the fact that he's available, which I didn't think was going to be possible, I will trade up from 58 and go get a Josh Connerly or go get a Donovan Jackson and call it a day. But I don't know if I will find a receiver at this caliber and this magnitude. So 25th overall pick, the Houston native who transferred from the University of Houston and helped Texas lead its pathway to a college football playoff appearance, is back home in Houston, and he's catching balls at NRG Stadium in 2025.
Which would also mean that he's reunited with Tank Dell, who, do we have an injury update on that front, Cole? Do we expect him to play at all in 2025?
Well, D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio both said he's throughout his progressional season and that he's working toward playing, which automatically means you're not going to tell us anything. So I will be the person to tell you, no, the length of that injury, the severity of that injury, how many more surgeries he has to go under, it would be I would call it medical marvel to watch him suit on up at any point in 2025. But don't be shocked to see him play in 2026 in a contract year.
Cole, we appreciate your time as usual. If we did have more time today, I would love to chat about that Nico and Aguilar swap that we just saw in college football, but we'll get to that another day. And enjoy your day tomorrow.
I'll leave you with this. Joey Aguilar will have a better record than Nico Iamaleava. That does not mean that Joey Aguilar is a better player than Nico Iamaleava. Bye, ladies.
Never say we didn't talk about college football on the day of the media mock draft.
All right, let's get to that scouting report for Matthew Golden.
Matthew Golden out of Texas has average size, but he plays with tremendous polish, instincts, and toughness. He spends a lot of time operating out of the slot. He can defeat press coverage with quickness or strength. He understands how to tempo routes and sets up defenders down the field. He can change gears when the ball goes up, and he tracks it naturally. And after the catch, he's very strong and sturdy to pull through tackles, and he can make defenders miss in space. Overall, Golden doesn't have dynamic traits, but he's a natural football player and a quarterback's best friend.
Yeah, when we previewed what the other teams in the AFC South might do, certainly receiver at 25 was something that we had tabbed for those Texans. All right, back to Cali we go, where James Gladstone came from. The Los Angeles Rams are on the clock.
Good morning to our good friend Jordan Rodriguez of The Athletic of NFL Daily, joining us from the West Coast. If you haven't had a chance to check out her profile on Jaguars GM James Gladstone on The Athletic, make sure you do so. How are you doing on this fine Wednesday, 24 or so hours out from the draft, Jordan?
Hi, guys. Such a pleasure to be on with you for this. Oh, my gosh. I'm just ready for it to get here. I'm sure you're feeling the same.
Yes. Well, before we get to the Rams side of things, and I'm curious to hear if you are going to be on site for this remote Rams draft setup or where they'll have the media stage, give us a little bit of the behind the scenes as much as you can as far as what you've learned through writing that piece about James Gladstone, about where the Jaguars not necessarily are headed at number 5, but how they'll approach the scouting process here in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a process that really goes back all the way through from 2023 and 2024 when I spent the season with the Rams scouting department. And James Gladstone was my point of contact for most of that reporting. So I got to see how he runs meetings, how he organizes the staff, how he communicates from not just the coaching staff, but also the scouting and personnel side. Really how he repositioned and re-strategized the entire Rams draft operation after that disastrous 2022 season when they had to truly rebuild their entire roster through the draft and did so over the next 2 years. So it was more about watching for this feature, how he starts to emerge into the actual spotlight of his position, because this is a person who has so frequently been in the background and been an observer and strategist behind the scenes. And now he will be the face of this new draft class along with Tony Vaselli and Liam Cohen as the Jaguars really try to step into this modern and progressive era of NFL football and become a team that's frequently in contention and among the big boys, I would say. And so that's going to be with their first pick. I would think that position that they choose will make a statement as such. And I know Ashton Janty's being mocked a lot to them, where James and Jake Temmie especially would probably normally hesitate with running backs in the first round especially. Ashton Janty's an outlier player. He's an outlier football player overall, and I think they do gravitate towards those types of players and people regardless of position. So we'll see what will happen. It'll be exciting.
It sure will be. Well, Jordan, it's sweet bitter that we have to have you make the pick now for the Rams at 26. That's a Les Snead-ism if people haven't read that Jordan Rodriguez piece. So who are the Rams taking with that 26th pick?
Yes, I've got them. Well, first of all, I think they're going to trade back because that's the Les Snead way. Second, though, if they do stick and pick at 26, I have them taking Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle out of Ohio State. Probably would have been a top 10 pick this year if he would have stayed healthy and played through the entire season. Really has operated in a very diverse offense, the Chip Kelly run game and passing game. You have to be able to pretty much do everything and do so at a very high level, very athletically. The Rams do have a left tackle already in Alaric Jackson, but both Alaric Jackson and Josh Simmons have left tackle and right tackle experience at a high level. And Rob Havenstein, their current starter at right tackle, coming off a shoulder clean-out procedure and also is on the last year of his contract. So I do think that the Rams continue to invest in their trenches here like they have done in the draft for the past 2 seasons.
And, of course, so many speculating if James Gladstone will follow in Les Snead's footprints, and he, too, will become much more accustomed to trading back and acquiring more darts to throw at that proverbial dartboard. Jordan, we appreciate you hopping on. We'll have to have you on again soon for a bit more of an extended exploration of all that you uncovered in your profile of James and beyond.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. Take care.
There she goes, Jordan Rodriguez of The Athletic. She selected Ohio State offensive tackle Josh Simmons with the Rams' 26th pick, and here's more on him.
Josh Simmons out of Ohio State is a gifted left tackle prospect. He has excellent size, movement skills, and balance. In the passing game, he shows a smooth and fluid set and uses a sharp punch before steering and controlling defenders. In the run game, he plays under control, stays on his feet, and maintains leverage and position. The main question with Simmons is going to be his health. However, what he put on tape this fall should generate plenty of optimism about his chances of becoming a quality starting left tackle in the NFL.
Yeah, like she said, I think he would have gone a lot higher if he had stayed healthy this season with those national champions. Let's take a ride up the East Coast. The Baltimore Ravens are on the clock. Who better to talk Ravens with than former Raven and also co-host of the Purple pregame show? Our friend of the program, Kadri Ismail, joins us now. Kadri, thanks so much.
I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. All right, so you are picking 27th. You know what's gone ahead of you. Lots of left tackles, lots of edges, or I should say offensive tackles and edges. What do you think are the Ravens' biggest need at this pick?
Boy, this is a tough one because I think for Eric DeCosta, he got the lowdown, if you will, from Steve Bisciotti that he wants to win now. He's not looking for somebody to develop. He's not looking for a scenario where, yeah, we got future picks and all the other fancy things that they normally look to do in a draft. John Harbaugh was signed to an extension. You got Lamar Jackson in his 8th season. I think for this team, it's a win now perspective and opportunity. You have Derek Henry. You got a run game that can totally dominate in the AFC North, as well as the skill sets of the guys on the outside. I think it has to be a scenario where Ronnie Stanley needs a guy next to him that he knows he can count on. They can have a mauler, a guy that's going to be physical at the point of attack. I'm going to go ahead and roll a dice on Tyler Booker.
Very nice. And that was the player that I was actually alluding to with Cole Thompson, who represented the Houston Texans in this year's media mock draft, because I thought with the obvious connection to DeMeco Ryans, but perhaps that pedigree from Alabama and the fact that he's still on the board for the Ravens and offensive line building through the trenches a strength. I like the pick. And I like this idea philosophically pairing it here with Jacksonville, Quadri, this idea of building a team from the inside out, something Baltimore has done so well in the past 30 years.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think for, this team, it's about the franchise quarterback. It's about, protecting him short term and getting them over the hump. What's over the hump? Getting through the playoffs and getting to the Super Bowl. I think they've been so close for so many years, and close is not good enough. I think, again, ownership is saying we want to win now. This isn't about the future. It's about now. And so get a guy that has that now potential. Tyler fits that mold. And then if you look at it, you got, 5 picks that will fulfill your need as far as the first 150 players on your board. So that's a good thing. You can go into your later picks, your second-round picks and such, and get maybe a potential, if they continue to fall, a Malachi Starks or Nick Emmanwari. You can get guys along those lines that I think would be strong pieces to what you're trying to do. But a guy that can fit, a plug-and-play guy that is like, yo, let's go, Tyler Booker.
Love it, Kadri. Real quick, before we let you go, I did want to ask a little bit about that secondary, because I know there were moments last year it felt like they kind of started to things started to shake out and play a little bit better later in the year. But there were some concerns early. How long is the secondary? I mean, how high is that secondary in general on your list for draft needs?
Yeah, I think you'd be a fool if you don't look at corner, if you don't look at safety. I think those are priority number one on defense, and of course edge. But you got to look at your secondary and recognize Marcus Williams just didn't pan out. Ardarius Washington, he signed the tender that they offered him, 3.6. Kyle Hamilton is just the jack of all trade pieces. And I think it'd be great to have one more guy, as the safety. And that's where I'm saying that Malachi Starks type of a player that could come in and again, allow Kyle Hamilton to kind of roam free and do what he does best, be that jack of all trades for Zach Orr's defense. I think it is imperative that they shore that up, especially when you're looking at the potential of a guy like a Travis Hunter now being in your division.
All right, Kadri, well, we appreciate the time, and certainly we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Here's the scouting report on Alabama offensive lineman Tyler Booker.
Tyler Booker out of Alabama has ideal size, awareness, and consistency. In the pass game, he sets with a wide, firm base and easily absorbs power rushers. In the run game, he can move defenders lined up over his nose, and he's excellent on combo blocks up to the second level. He takes great angles, and he gathers and walls off linebackers. There are some concerns about Booker's athleticism based on his combine performance, but he's still a perfect fit for a gap scheme team with a power running game.
All right, so the Texans took Matthew Golden, the wide receiver out of Texas. The Rams selected offensive tackle Josh Simmons out of Ohio State, and the Ravens just went with Alabama guard Tyler Booker. So, ladies, it feels like run on the big people. Not so defensive tackles, but certainly the edge guys and those offensive linemen. There's been runs on them in our mock draft.
And it's exactly why, and I've seen a couple of you guys, and yes, we haven't forgotten about you, text line and YouTube chat. We appreciate you guys tuning in for the 2025 1010XL Media Mock Draft, discussing this idea of the Earth theory and the big people. And ultimately, as much as we want to talk in the media and we want to talk on radio about the shiny toys and playmakers, will league executives ultimately side with this idea of you have to build through the trenches?
We will find out tomorrow night. It finally occurs. All right, Lions and Commanders on the other side. It is 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Ever wonder what Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser did before the drill?
You're wearing tuxedos to a job that requires you to clean bathrooms.
Dan and Jeff.
I'm proud of what I do.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Watch where you step. Watch where you squat.
When you need a mechanic you can trust, call Sam, Harry, or Joe at AA Automotive on Richard Street. From oil changes to complex engine repairs, AA Automotive promises expert service and honest pricing from a local family biz. AA Automotive on Richard Street.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both? With everyday deals at Sonny's. Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
David Garrard here. I've had the PRP treatment from Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, and my knees are really doing well. Platelet-rich plasma treatment may be the answer for whatever is hurting you.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
My son had a meniscus surgery a couple years ago. When it's smooth as silk, Dr. Kevin Murphy did it. Was playing tennis in 2 weeks. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Keeping kids active is a full-time job for parents. Look no further, though, than I-9 Sports, covering Duval, St. John's, and Clay to get your youngster in the game. Spring and summer registration open right now for flag football, soccer, t-ball, and basketball. Plus, all new girls volleyball at Duval Charter Bay Meadows. I-9 Sports with fields and gyms all over 3 counties. And the best thing is I-9 Sports offers sports year-round so kids can always find a sport to play. i9sports.com. Enter 1010 in the promo code.
Leon Cersei here. Let's be real. I used to eat like a lineman because I was one. And man, those habits are hard to break. I needed help to stop with the munchies and lose weight. But now, I'm bringing sexy back. I call Physician Guided Weight Loss. Their medical team is helping me shed pounds safely with a custom plan to help me slim down. And their firm pricing means same price every month. Hey, you want to bring sexy back? Visit Physician Guided Weight Loss at pgweightloss.com.
He's not Pistol Pete, he's Pete Prisco.
Been on the wanted list almost 20 years.
CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco joins the Franchi Show Friday afternoons on 1010XL. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles.
Right now, they're on their way to disrupt your life, make you uncomfortable, and rob you. Don't bother calling the police. They can't help. That's right. Summer heat and humidity are about to attack North Florida again. You know what to do. Call Mike Merritt. Mike Merritt's Heating and Air has a license to chill. When heat and humidity are attacking you, Mike Merritt provides a comfortable chill at a bargain price. Mike has been keeping North Florida comfortable for 30 years. Mike Merritt technicians are never paid commissions, meaning you'll never be pressured to buy something you don't need. And Mike Merritt knows cooling issues can arise anytime. They don't just happen during business hours. So Mike Merritt never charges overtime fees. When you need us, we're here for you. Remember, in the fight against heat and humidity, Mike Merritt has a license to chill. Visit merrittair.com. Florida license number CACO 50384.
Tired of changing out bad sod year after year? Get it done right with Roundtree Sod. Big or small, they have it, and always supplied farm fresh. For a lush, legendary green lawn, call 7414-SOD for a free estimate. 7414-SOD.
Work Zone Awareness Week is a reminder to prioritize safety every time you drive. Road workers are out there improving Florida's highways, and they depend on you to slow down and stay alert. Speeding and distractions put lives at risk, yours and theirs. Let's work together to protect everyone on the road. Remember, when you see orange cones, safety comes first. This is a message brought to you by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI, domestic violence, and all criminal offenses. In your battle with the justice system, there's only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645. 354-5645.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Find out what new golf equipment could help your game.
Well, I'm just a humble golf pro. Could I help you?
Get great golf tips and talk from the experts on the Edwin Watts Golf Hour.
Got to figure out why I'm still shaking the ball.
Saturday morning at 10 on 1010XL.
Free Comic Book Day. Hey, I'm Ben Kay, owner of Gotham City Limit, your local comic shop, inviting you to the Community Party of the Year, Saturday, May 3rd. Free comics, free food, huge discounts, and more. Let's take Free Comic Book Day to the limit. Gotham City Limit.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you as we continue the 2025 Media Mock Draft. We have arrived at pick 28, so let's head to the Motor City as the Detroit Lions are on the clock.
All right, joining us now is Jeremy Reisman. He of Pride of Detroit. We've talked to you several times for several different reasons, Jeremy, so we appreciate your time yet again.
Yeah, no problem at all. Happy to be here.
This is kind of how it panned out. Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Antoine Randall L. A couple more have moved on to other places. So what is the level of concern when it comes to that of now these new coaches having to kind of take over this year and the newness in that area?
Yeah, I mean, I think like any team, you know, once you lose both offensive and defensive coordinators, there's going to be a level of concern. But it's interesting the hires that they made to kind of fill those spots. You look on the defensive side, you basically just promote your linebackers coach, Kelvin Shepard, who's kind of been a rising star since he's entered the coaching staff a few years back. Not much is going to change in terms of scheme, and he kind of has some of the same leadership qualities that Aaron Glenn has. So, you know, on paper, it looks like a pretty, you know, one-to-one replacement there, but Aaron Glenn has been doing this for about 15, 20 years. Shepard has only been doing it for about 5. So there's naturally going to be some things he's going to have to learn on the job. But then you look on the offensive side of the ball, and, you know, the Lions make a hire of a guy who was actually with the offense back in 2022 with John Morton. he was part of the crew that helped set up the offense to what it was today. So he's already familiar with the verbiage. He already has a working relationship with Dan Campbell. So they kind of hedged their way to getting to where they are, and they have guys that are familiar with the players, familiar with the scheme. And so you hope that there's not as much of a, work it out period, but naturally there's going to be some of that.
Well, when we're talking about this, because I think another big topic was how the end of the season kind of happened with some of those defensive woes. A lot of injuries, though, on that side of the ball. We heard every broadcast talk about how many players throughout the season they lost defensively. But I think still, Jeremy, and you tell me how high this is on your list of needs for the Detroit Lions, because outside, Aiden Hutchinson still led the team with pressures, and he played 5 games last season. So there still has to be some concern in that area, right?
Yeah, no question. You look around the NFL, there's not a lot of teams with 2 elite edge rushers on their roster, but, any sort of help would certainly be welcome to take some pressure off of Hutchinson now that he is healthy, to supplement him once he, just in case, anything happens again, right? You can't have this one-man pass rushing attack, even if he is healthy the entire year. So, the Lions made do and were able to hold in there as long as they could, but you're right. If Aiden Hutchinson is leading your team in pressures and he played 5-6 games or whatever it was, that means you need a little bit more juice coming from anywhere. And it doesn't have to be, necessarily a defensive end. It could be a linebacker, could be a defensive tackle, could be a defensive back. But they definitely need a little bit more juice in that area.
All right, Jeremy, do 2 things for us. 1, say hello to Mark Brunell, and 2, make that 28th pick.
Yes, I'll tell him you said hi. Yeah, with the 28th pick in this mock draft, the Detroit Lions are going to go with Oregon defensive tackle Derek Harmon. I kind of had to do a double check to make sure he hadn't been gone, because he's my second best defensive tackle in this class. It'll make a great story. He's a Detroit native, so he's coming back home. But he's this perfect blend of run defender and pass rusher. He has the size at 310 to 320 pounds, whatever you want to put him at, 6'4", and just one of the biggest arm spans on the team. In this draft class that keeps defenders at bay, particularly in the run game. It's very hard to get him off his spot, but he also led this entire draft class amongst the defensive tackles in pressures with 55 last year, an incredible 17.6 pass rush win rate. He's a guy that is going to bring some of that juice to the Lions defense. I think if you can bring some of that pressure up the interior, it'll help Aiden Hutchinson finish on some of his sacks. And meanwhile, the Lions aren't going to be forfeiting anything in their run defense, which is really, really important to them. So to me, he is the perfect blend player and great value here at the 28th overall pick.
Yeah, been some reports today saying the Bears are looking at a Josh Connerly, so maybe we'll see some Drake Harmon v. Josh Connerly a couple times this year. We will see. But Jeremy, thank you so much, and enjoy the day tomorrow.
All right, sounds good.
All right, let's get to that scouting report for Derek Harmon.
Derek Harmon out of Oregon is a quick, disruptive defensive tackle with excellent instincts. As a pass rusher, he has quick hands to knock away the punch of opposing linemen. Against the run, he's very aware and avoids getting displaced by down blocks. He can anchor down versus double teams, and he excels at shooting gaps to disrupt and redirect runners. Harmon has a great feel for the game and can create a lot of havoc despite lacking an elite trait.
That's a good one. We talked to EJ Snyder, our friend from Bootleg Football, about him. Certainly Derek Harmon going to the Lions makes that defensive front even more dangerous. Now let's head to the nation's capital as the Washington Commanders are on the clock. ESPN's John Keim joins us now. John, thanks so much for hopping on with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. All right, so you just heard all those picks that went before you. What do you think the Commanders, it feels like a luxury pick based off of the season last year, as they seem to be a year ahead of their time, but what do you think are some of the needs that the Commanders have?
So I think a couple of things I say they would want from this draft is a running back, an offensive lineman, a defensive end / an edge rusher, and a cornerback. Those would be the 4 spots, and not necessarily in that order either, but those are the 4 spots that you'd have to say, like, they need to get a little bit more help at those spots.
Well, the good news, John, is that as of right now, only 2 running backs off the board. And by my count, unless you're counting Travis Hunter, I don't know if we want to call him as a wide receiver, a corner, just 3 corners. And so who are you selecting with that 29th pick in the 2025 1010XL Media Mock Draft for the Washington Commanders?
So because somebody screwed me and took Tyler Booker a couple picks in front of me, I'm going to go with and the edge rushers that I think they would take are gone at 29. I'm going to go with corner Maxwell Harist. I took him in our ESPN mock as well. And I do think he's a guy that's of definite interest here. And for a couple of reasons. One, he 6 interceptions in 20 games. They need a guy who can take the ball away. They only had 7 picks last year. And so that's one thing. He's fast. He's got short area quickness, which they really treasure in a corner. So he's got all those traits. You know, you wonder about the tackling, but I've talked to other scouts who feel he's a great competitor, that he played through that shoulder injury. And one guy was like, watch his 2023 tape more than that last year. So, you know, I think he's a guy that is, again, definite interest. Now, the reason I say corner, like, they do have 4 corners. They could go out and play right now with an allotment of corners. They have Marshawn Lattimore, Mike Samerstill, whom they drafted last year, Jonathan Jones, a free agent signing, and Noah Igbenogany, a former first-round pick who is part of their rotation. But they don't have another true outside corner to go with Lattimore. So Samerstill and Jones are better inside. So you do need that guy. Lattimore's got an injury history. I don't know that Hairston would come in and make an immediate impact, but I think he would play in some packages. But that's why I went with him.
All right, John, good stuff. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure. Thanks.
All right, there he goes, John Keim from ESPN selecting with the 29th pick, Kentucky corner, Maxwell Hairston. RJ, take it away.
Maxwell Hairston is a lean, athletic cornerback with ideal play speed and fluidity. The Kentucky cornerback in press coverage, he incorporates a one-hand jam before turning and carrying vertical routes. He has plenty of burst and speed. In off coverage, he likes to settle and catch receivers at the break point. He'll need to play cleaner with his hands down the field, however, on the next level. He's willing in run support and is a dynamic blitzer. Overall, Hairston offers an enticing blend of movement skills and production.
All right, we have 3 more to go before we get to the other side and chat a little bit more with the Bills and the Chiefs and the Eagles. Time now for the Terminix Pest of the Day. Visit them online, terminix.com. That's terminix.com. They'll take care of your mosquitoes, any pests you have, termites, all of that type of thing. And that's why they take care of Everbank Stadium, my house, ViStar Ballpark, ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Taylor, this one's simple for me. The Florida Everblades are today's Pest of the Day. They're a thorn in the side of our Jacksonville Icemen. Hopefully the Icemen win tonight. They probably are cheaters. All right, we do have 3 more teams to go as we continue the 2025 media mock draft. To recap, the Lions selected Oregon defensive tackle Derek Harmon, and the Commanders selected Kentucky corner Maxwell Hairston. The Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles, all on the other side. 1 segment to go on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
There's a certain romance to radio play-by-play.
We need you to be all strong and hot.
Experience the most play-by-play sports on 1010XL.
Mia here. You know, people typically start and end their day by paying a visit to their closet. So shouldn't that space feel calm, organized, like a little moment of luxury? That's why I chose Closets by Design. They specialize in custom solutions for every lifestyle and budget. Call them this week to schedule your free in-home consultation and get 40% off, plus another 15% off and free installation. Don't wait for your mom to do it. Call now at 1-800-293-3744 or visit closetsbydesign.com.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold and silver and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at almost $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar or trade it in for a new piece and get even more value at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Hacker here with an opportunity. Drop 40 pounds by the 4th. You can do it. I dropped my first 40 in 6 weeks. Hayes did it, Dempsey, Ballou, and thousands of others have done it. 40 by the 4th with Awaken180weightloss.com.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Need protection? Call Craig and Christine Kaprosky at Goosehead Insurance. The Kaproskys are a husband-wife team committed to finding you the right coverage at the right price in just a few short minutes. For home, auto, flood, or specialty insurance, Craig and Christine Kaprosky are the answer. Craig.Kaprosky at Goosehead.com.
AC's broke, it ain't no joke. Call Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. FloridaHomeAC.com.
Poker players, the Run Good Poker Series is coming to Best Bet Jacksonville from April 24th to May 4th with 10 poker events, including the $1,200 main event, hosting a $300,000 guaranteed prize pool, and event number 1, a $400 no-limit hold'em tourney with a $200,000 guarantee. The action is non-stop. One in, win your seat through satellite starting April 4th at Best Bet Jacksonville. For all the Run Good Series structures and details, visit bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com.
One man, one hammer. One place to hear it drop. Hammer Time with Hayes, weekdays on The Frangie Show.
Driven by Southside Kia. Online at SouthsideKiaJacks.com on 1010XL.
Yo, this is Tony from Tony D's. Are you looking for a great slice of pizza? Well, we have about 12 varieties. Most places won't have slices of pizza after lunch. At Tony D's, you can get a slice all day. It's always fresh at Tony D's Pizza. Bay Meadows and 295.
Get a healthy start in 2025. The Florida Department of Health in Duval County is here to encourage you to get healthy and stay healthy this year. They have a dedicated team who are committed to providing quality care. The goal is to protect, promote, and improve the health of you and your family. Visit duval.floridahealth.gov to learn more about their health programs and services. That's duval.floridahealth.gov.
Are you struggling with hair loss? At IHRS, we understand because we've been there too. We're dedicated to finding the best solution tailored just for you.
My hair looks great. It was thinning, and IHRS restored my hair.
It's now fuller, it's thicker, voluminous. It's made me feel great.
With the latest technology and FDA-approved laser therapy, PRP, and non-surgical hair addition, we offer guaranteed solutions for men and women.
With over 35 years of experience, IHRS found a hair restoration for us, and we can find one for you.
For me.
For me.
And me too.
Visit hairforme.com or call 904-777-IHRS. Get a free microscopic analysis and get to the root of your problem. This $395 analysis is yours for free. Call 904-777-4477 now.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can stand, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can stand, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
I'm Liz Gruby, the Jacksonville Business Journal's events director, and on May 15th, we're shining a spotlight on young professionals who are boldly leading the way in business and making our major impact in our community. I'd love for you to join us for our 40 Under 40 Awards as we celebrate these up-and-comers and their achievements. Don't miss this inspiring afternoon of networking and celebration. Tickets are going fast. You have to get them before May 6th. And for more information and tickets, visit jbjevents.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
Let's cool down by recapping what has happened so far in the second half of the 1010XL 2025 Media Mock Draft with the 17th overall pick, the Cincinnati Bengals, Donovan Ezrau, edge, Boston College, the pick. The Seattle Seahawks selected Will Johnson, corner out of Michigan. Jihad Campbell heads to Tampa Town, the Alabama linebacker. Sean Payton gets his running back. The Denver Broncos select Omari and Hampton out of North Carolina. Shador Sanders off to the Steel City and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Whether or not that's with Aaron Rodgers remains to be determined. Shamar Stewart, the A&M edge to the Chargers. Amecha Ibuka off the board, the Ohio State wide receiver to the Green Bay Packers. Michigan defensive tackle Kenneth Grant selected by the Vikings. Texas wide receiver Matthew Golden selected by the Texans. Ohio State tackle Josh Simmons selected by the Rams. Alabama's Tyler Booker, the guard, falls to the Baltimore Ravens. Derek Harmon of Oregon to the Lions, and Maxwell Harist of Kentucky to the Washington Commanders, with 3 picks still remaining.
That's right. Let's knock one of those out as we head to upstate New York. The Buffalo Bills are on the clock.
Is it upstate? Is it Western New York? It's one of the world's biggest mysteries. We're calling these final 3 picks, this 3-pack of sorts, the Friends of Mo Bryan. Fellow Ithaca College Bomber Dom Tibbetts of WKBW, the ABC affiliate in Buffalo, joins us now. Hello, Dom. How are you on this fine Wednesday?
Fellow Bomber Mia, always glad to be here. Hello, Taylor. Hello, everybody. Pleasure to be here once again, the yearly tradition of joining you guys on this mock draft. And it is Western New York, but as a Syracuse native growing up, too, you're not going to upset anybody else because to any New York City resident, they're just going to say everything is upstate at this point.
I actually wrote CNY, the acronym, in one of my Mia's Mock Draft Mondays, and Kevin, my boyfriend, was proofreading for me, and he goes, you can't. You have to spell it out. Not everyone's going to know what that is. And I said, but the ones who know, they know.
They know.
They know.
We know.
Well, speaking of knowing, I do know that in speaking with you, Ryan O'Halloran, so many of the folks up there in Buffalo, all the talk seems to be about the cornerback position or lack thereof on the Bills roster at this current juncture. So I'm curious, where do you go with the 30th overall pick in this year's Media Mock Draft?
Yeah, Mia, I want to preface this by saying that if I have this pick and I'm looking at the board that RJ sent me, I'm trading back. But I know that's not something you can do for the sake of having fun for this draft, because I think this guy that I'm going to pick is going to be there in the early second round where they can grab him. Because that defensive tackle spot isn't there I want, I'm going to take cornerback Trey Amos from Ole Miss.
A name that many have thought would potentially be a fit for the Rams. Why is he in that loaded second tier, if you may, of corners past Travis Hunter and Jahdae Barron? Why is he the fit for Buffalo?
I think it's just with what he does in terms of his strength with what the Bills do. Because I think there's going to be some people who are like, well, Siobhan Rebel from ECU is still on the board, Diamond. He has first round grades. Why would you go Trey Amos? I think just Trey is so much better in zone coverage, and the Bills are a zone-heavy team. You see guys like Christian Benford who have really benefited from the way the defensive back style plays. I just think Siobhan Rebel reminds me a little bit too much of a Kyer Elam without knowing how it's going to work out. And we all know how Kyer worked out, right? So Trey just kind of fits the zone coverage mold that the Bills fit there, too. I think he's shown some really good flashes of just the ability to transfer his coverage style from, playing high up in the SEC ranks and how that's going to translate to the NFL. I think he kind of brings everything that the Bills need. And again, if you're talking about a guy who you're going to likely get in the second round or the late first round, if the Bills stick here too, you have the affordability, I think, that you can kind of mold and get kind of him up to speed with what Sean McDermott and Bobby Babich want. And if there's two things those guys have done really well, it's developing corners and linebackers for the most part in there too. So he just makes the most sense for what the Bills have too. I think he's freaky fast for a corner. He's 6'1" with a good frame. You go back, and I mentioned him earlier, he just reminds me a lot about the potential that like Christian Benford has kind of blossomed into here in Buffalo. That's the hope. I mean, if you're Brandon Beane and you have Trey Amos, and then we're talking in a year or two from now, him and Christian Benford are locking up cornerback 1 and 2 here. Boom, And the thing is, Trey White's back. I'm not going to say Trey White's a bona fide starter, but you also don't need Trey Amos to come in and battle for the starting spot. He can actually learn and have some development there too. I think the safety help also helps him with some of those lacks of man-to-man coverage that he does have. Let's just say Trey gets beat. There's always going to be a too-deep safety set or too-high safety set with the Bills' defense. It's kind of their bread and butter. So to me, Trey Amos fits. I don't think the Bills have to necessarily settle for him in the first round, but since he's there, I mean, I heard so much about him, Mia, when we were at the Combine from talking to different draft analysts. He just makes the most sense for this Bills defense.
We appreciate your analysis, Dom, and I appreciate you, as always, participating in this year's Media Mock Draft. Talk soon, my fellow Bomber.
Likewise, see you guys. Thank you.
And of course, now let's take a look and learn a little bit more about Trey Amos.
Trey Amos out of Mississippi has excellent size and is known as a fluid and smooth athlete. He has average twitch and burst, but he plays with excellent instincts and ball skills. He can play the ball with his back to the quarterback as well as any cornerback in the draft. The only real question many had about his game was his top-end speed. However, he alleviated those concerns with a 4.43-second 40-yard dash at the Combine.
All right, the final two, we head to the Midwest as the Super Bowl runner-up Kansas City Chiefs are on the clock.
What's the beef? One of my favorite online social segments over at KC Sports Network. It's Tucker Franklin. Did I do that one justice, Tucker?
Oh, you did it better than I could ever do, Mia.
We appreciate you hopping on to make pick number 31 for the Kansas City Chiefs. And as I look at the board as it currently sits, and I know you were thinking the same thing, or at least I'm assuming you were, Tucker, does it work out pretty nicely for the Chiefs to potentially select a tackle of the future?
You know, I was thinking about that, Mia, but I was looking around as I started diving into this board a little bit more. I think I found a guy that was slipping maybe a bit further than a lot of people anticipate him to. If you're ready for the pick, I'll go ahead and let you know who I think I'm going to take here.
Fire away. Let's do it.
We're going to take Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia, at pick number 31 here. Look, a guy who was highly touted going into the University of Georgia on the University of Georgia defenses that are notorious for being phenomenal defenses. And a guy that can, I think, flawlessly add to this Steve Spagnuolo defense. I think it's a really almost a steal here for the Kansas City Chiefs to get Starks at 31.
Will the panic, though, set in, though, Tucker, of, oh, my goodness, we have a Band-Aid in Jalen Moore and Jawan Taylor as our starting bookends to begin the 2025 season?
It very well could, but the Chiefs are very confident in what they feel about Jalen Moore, what they've seen on tape for him in some NFL settings. They've seen him go against actual pass rushers. They've seen him in NFL settings, and they feel good about what they've seen with Jalen Moore. I know sometimes some people have mentioned, too, with the tackle or with the guard situation, rather, at left guard, they did trade away Joe Thuney. They also feel really good about Kingsley Suamataia playing guard, and he was kind of transitioning to guard after the kind of failed left tackle experience there that they had for him. I don't think that they are going to be forced to take a tackle. I understand people's hesitancy of wanting to take a tackle. If the right guy's there, it could. Connerly was a guy that I was looking at and thinking about maybe that could pull a trigger here. But I think the talent of Starks and what he can do and what he can add to this defense on the side of the ball that you're probably going to need to get some pretty young talent and some pretty cheap talent as well. So you can kind of help Patrick Mahomes bolster that side of the ball up with maybe some higher class talent and free agency. If you can get a guy like Malachi Starks at pick number 31, I think Steve Spagnuolo specifically will be rushing to the podium for that.
We appreciate you making the pick for the Chiefs, Tucker, and of course the Georgia fans in Duval County. Very happy to hear Starks off the board to the three-time champs with Patrick Mahomes under center. Thanks so much for hopping on, Tucker.
Thanks, Mia.
All right, let's get the scouting report on Georgia safety Malachi Starks.
Malachi Starks out of Georgia split his time between nickelback and safety in the Bulldogs defense. When he was in the slot, he showed quick feet with the ability to flip his hips and mirror underneath. From off coverage, he's aggressive to squat on routes, and he's had wins and losses because of it. In the deep half, he takes good angles in pursuit and is a firm tackler in space. His intelligence and leadership ability have blown away NFL teams. Overall, even though he didn't make as many plays this past season as he did in 2023, he has the versatility to move around the field and provide a lot of value.
Finally, up to the city of brotherly love where the Lombardi Trophy resides. The Philadelphia Eagles are on the clock with pick 32.
Olivia Reiner of the Philadelphia Inquirer. Isn't it so nice to hear the Philadelphia Eagles have the 32nd overall pick? I feel like the meme of couldn't be us, right? Here we are in the year of our Lord 2025. The Eagles are world champions. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, and if I'm putting on my Howie Roseman hat, I'm probably very happy to be picking at number 32 because that means the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I'm really not that happy to be picking at 32. I was probably trying to be aggressive moving up, maybe even moving back if a guy with a first-round grade wasn't there that I wanted. But you know what? we'll do it for the sake of the exercise. We'll pick a 32.
And go ahead, Taylor.
Oh, I was just going to say, because when we were looking at the Eagles drafts recently, because that's going to be the comparison right now when you're trying to roster build, because it feels like they've done a really good job, but they haven't drafted an offensive player in the first round since 2021, and that was with Devonta Smith. Do you think they continue that streak of defensive guys at the top?
It's very possible that they stick with defense in this draft simply because, well, there's a few things. There's certainly some needs that the Eagles have on the defensive side of the ball that they could address for this year and also in the years to come. But at the same time, you also have to consider, like, okay, where is the depth at this point in the draft among this class? And I think it is on the defensive side of the ball, especially with that edge rushers class. So between the need for the Eagles and also what is likely going to be available to them at this point in the draft, I think sticking on defense makes sense. My only possible offensive position group that the Eagles could target in the first round that would be on my mind is offensive line, possibly a successor to Lane Johnson in a few years when his contract is up, or even possibly earlier. And then even maybe someone who has the ability to start on the interior, possibly at right guard, as the Eagles have a starting role up for grabs this season. So there are so many directions that they could go with the 32 overall pick, and I'm very curious to see what ends up happening tomorrow night.
But which direction will you go with, Olivia? Let's put a bow on this year's media mock draft. With the 32nd overall pick in the 2025 1010XL media mock draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select
James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. This is a pick that I am still, I'm also looking at the offensive tackles that were still on the board with Josh Connerly, who came in on a top 30 visit for the Eagles. Additionally, Ariante Urstery out of Minnesota was still on the board at this point. 2 potential tackle options for the Eagles. I'm still just not buying it that they're going to go after a tackle early in this year's draft to try to identify Lane Johnson's successor at this point. I know Howie Roseman likes to work ahead on these types of things. We saw him draft Cam Jurgens in the second round years ago, a couple of years before Jason Kelsey ultimately ended up retiring. But I think that this is the right draft to go after an edge rusher early on. This is a deep group of talent, and Pierce has a lot of potential. He has a high ceiling thanks to his athleticism. He's got a bigger frame in terms of his 6'5" height, but his a little bit on the leaner side at 240 pounds. But he's really a talented athlete at the end of the day. A really great explosiveness with his first step, very twitchy and quick off the ball. I think he got a lot stronger in 2024 against the run, and that's something that he will need to continue to work on as he makes this transition to the NFL level, and specifically in this Eagles defense where the edge rushers are asked to do a lot in the run game as well. I think that as long as the Eagles are comfortable with Pierce being able to potentially evolve into not just a pure pass rusher in the NFL, I think that he is someone that they could certainly use in their defense, considering they lost Josh Sweat in free agency this past offseason and Brandon Graham retiring as well. So they've got a need there on that side of the ball at that position group in particular. And with the deep class, I think they could come away with a guy like James Pierce Jr. and be satisfied.
Prickly personality, but
Very
we know Howie Roseman has never shied away, and they've established a culture that is A-okay with that sort of personality. Olivia, we appreciate you making the final pick in this year's media mock draft at 1010XL.
Of course, anytime.
All right, let's get the scouting report on that final pick. Tennessee edge, James Pierce Jr.
James Pierce Jr. is a long, lean edge rusher. The Volunteers moved him around their scheme, and he created havoc from a variety of entry points. His first 3 steps are very explosive when he's rushing off the edge. And for such a lean frame player, he can generate a lot of pocket push with his bull rush. When used as a walk-around blitzer, he exposes the lack of athleticism along the interior of offensive lines. They clear the runway for him, and he goes to work. His pressure rate also stands out amongst his peers in this class. And against the run, he plays bigger than his weight would suggest.
All right, that'll do it for our 2025 media mock draft. Let's say hello to XL Primetime.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Service by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
Matt, what do you think about the Eagles adding yet another SEC defensive player in James Pierce Jr.? The rich just get richer, right?
I think y'all must be exhausted going through an entire draft like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of a whirlwind. It is.
6 edge rushers off the board.
James Pierce, he's definitely talented. He's got some baggage.
I said prickly personality.
He has some. That's a nice way of putting it. So you're dealing with something there. There's no doubt about that. You know, again, it's every GM and every coach thinks they can change a guy.
Mm-hmm.
They can make him turn his negatives into positives, and some can, some can't. So it's a roll of the dice.
That's right.
But do you like better him or Shamar Stewart?
Neither. Honestly, neither. I wouldn't draft either one of them.
Yeah, me either.
I mean, Shamar Stewart hasn't proven he can finish in 3 years in college football. James Pierce has proven he's a good player.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't play that as well as last year as he did the previous year, but he's got a lot of stuff he's dealing with. So I wouldn't touch either one of them, actually.
What's coming up?
We're going to talk draft.
Are you?
We're going to get into
Is that tomorrow?
Genty.
Genty life.
It's a frenzy.
We're going to get into the idea of Genty and what it might not be what you think it is, and we'll do a lot of NFL. We're going to talk to NFL.com senior draft analyst Eric Edholm. He's going to break down the draft for us as well. We got our Dr. George Barr coming on. We're going to talk about some injury issues in the draft, and come on, we'll have a blast.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Matt. We'll be listening.
Ladies.
That'll do it for us today. Once again, thank you to RJ for working so hard getting all those draft profiles done. All those people on the line, letting everyone know who is off the board ahead of them. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. Don't go anywhere. XL Primetime Cup's up next. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you.